SandCity. Oh, boy. Okay. Oof, messed my shot up. Starting off with technical difficulties, which is always wonderful. Always. Love that. Okay. Shot is good. Everything is good. Okay. So let's get IG going on. Love it. Love it. Let's get yes. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome on this Friday edition. Hope everybody out there is doing all right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Twitter is going well. Refresh that so get it back right. Okay, okay. Just get everything in order. Check the YouTube. All right, all right. And last but not least, we have Twitch. Yes, indeed. How you doing, folks? We have managed, navigated some technical stuff here and there. Welcome to SandCity Sports, my people. To the business. Okay, go New York, go New York. Hey, go New York, go New York. Let's get the intro. Hey, SandCity, Friday night. All right, the New York Knicks on our way to the Eastern Conference Finals in resounding fashion. We got 5 minutes. Run it back, folks. We doing Mighty Mick. We got Mighty Mick. Mighty Mick's in the building. Pride of Philly. But it's all about the New York Knicks tonight. Who delivered us 1, 2, 3 from Rocky Balboa. Knocked out. New York headed to the conference finals. Orange championship. You know what this is. SandCity Sports. Hey! We in the building tonight, folks. It's a beautiful thing. Don't think just because I don't have my Knicks gear on that the fan in me is not triumphant right now. A long ways to go, yes. All right. But what are we looking at? 78 to 112. Okay, we giving them that 30 piece with the special sauce. That's what I was calling for. Had to make a statement. Let Boston get back their confidence in game 5. Knicks had to come out today and leave no doubt, which we Yes, under the capable leadership of Tom Thibodeau, my favorite coach, we the New York Knicks have done. Now, this Boston Celtics team, and I'm liking what I'm seeing down the stretch, Tibbs. Okay, giving the starters a break, bringing in the reserves so that they can do what they do. Beautiful thing. Okay. Yeah. Just came out and handled their BI, handled business. And the Knicks are moving on to face a very capable, a very talented Indiana Pacers squad. All right, so a lot to get to in terms of this game, in terms of the series, moving forward into the conference finals. Best 2 words in sports. Game 7, Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder. That's going down this weekend. Excuse me, to determine who will be matching up against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. So the Final Four is presenting itself in the NBA right now, and there's a lot to get to in each series. And I have quite a bit to say just about this series because we all know the Boston Celtics, who remain dynastic. At the moment, the Boston Celtics are still a dynastic because they have their roster, their full complement. Okay, we haven't had any foolishness go on, folks, in terms of the Celtics roster construction. So we get the shirt right. But that's going to be a major story in the offseason. Boston Celtics need, I say again, need to retain this entire roster. And if it's not broke, do not go ahead and try to fix things. If anything, the Celtics, as I've been saying for the majority of the season, need strategic help. Joe Mazzulla needs help. Okay, go out there and get some of those top flight coaches. Mike Brown is out there, okay? Frank Vogel is out there. Coach Bud is out there. All right, the bench needs help. It needs work, okay? That's where the Celtics need to look to make these improvements, not in terms of the roster. I don't want to hear about the second apron. You want to win championships, you're going to pay the cost, period, in the story. You try to do it on the cheap, all right? This is at your own discretion and also danger with the possibility of destruction. Okay, so the Celtics they have right a good bench. Shout out to Peyton Pritchard who comes down to the Cape. We love to see that. Cape Codders as we move into Memorial Day is coming up. All right, then we have another month or so until our official start of the summer, which is really July 1st, but July 4th, if you will, Bobby. 4th of July, celebrating independence, moving towards the 250th anniversary next year. But also for sports fans, we think of July 1st, and I know we might not think about this in the Commonwealth, but July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day. You understand what I'm saying? July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day in the wild world of sports in terms of that glorious contract. But specific to the Celtics, we're going to get into it. I'm firm on this, and I'm not backing down. I don't care what stat, and you fool around and you find out. This whole Celtics team, this entire starting 5 needs to come back. Okay, and then you build it out from there. Guys, take a little bit less money. You know what I mean? That's what the conversation we need to be having. Okay, that's how my New York Knicks arrived at the place where they are now. JB, right? Signed a team-friendly contract. Mikal Bridges, team-friendly contract. Okay, La Cosa Nova. Okay, we're trying to win championships around here. We're trying to work with organizations. We don't have to get all of ours up front because the winning makes sure that those things are taken care of on the back end. Guys, want to get selfish and I got to get mines? Okay, you can go ahead and get yours. All right, and then be okay on the back pages on page 10, or never mind just the right. You ain't gonna be on the front pages because you're not gonna be winning. Okay, and then a lot of times guys go ahead and get their money. Can think of a couple names, frankly, and don't have the winning to go along with it, and it shortens your career, right? Because you're just you're out there in anonymity, and then a lot of time guys come back at the tail end of their career, and then they want to get with a contender and go from there, right? So Celtics, it hurts. Made it clear this series somebody, I was gonna, I'm a Knicks fan, tried and true. Hold on, let me back up off of that a little bit. I'm a Knicks fan, okay, not tried and true like CP the franchise. Shout out to Knicks Fan TV, which is going to be wild tonight. Happy to be in the building, doing what I do along with just folks that are really talented and have great things going on. So Knicks Fan TV is going to be going on tonight, folks. Um, and CP the franchise can right. CP the franchise has been through the highs and the lows. All right, I was with the Knicks in the early '90s when I used to live in the tri-state area. Okay, but then moved out to Tourist Town, and that Knicks fandom kind of faded. Was gung ho New York in '94, gung ho '94. Knicks Rockets, but then it wasn't there, and I returned to the fold when they brought in my favorite coach, who's headed to the Eastern Conference Finals, who develops players, who builds culture, who doesn't believe in the load management foolishness. Okay, I want Mr. Tom Thibodeau. Right as this game just goes final, Boston 81, Knicks 119. That 38. Okay, doggone there. 40 piece was delivered with some special sauce tonight. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, folks. And we're moving on from there. Okay. Not that you win or lose, how you win or lose. And yes, Boston Celtics, they are not at 100%, clearly, and just talked about, have to get things in order for next year. No doubt about that. Okay. But heavy hands was delivered tonight by my New York Knicks. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's how you make a statement when you need to. All right. Indiana Pacers are there, very capable. They made their own statement, getting the Cleveland Cavaliers up out of there in 5 games. Gentleman sweep, leaving no doubt. Withstanding the Cavaliers fought valiantly under the capable leadership of Kenny Atkinson, who knows his business. But Indiana was not to be denied. And Indiana is showing that they are at another level from where they were last year, healthy. Right? Because they was missing Matherin last year. Knicks obviously missing Randall, amongst others. And so, you kind of, because I've already had some technical difficulties just getting the shot right and being clumsy and things moving here and there in this episode. Right, Murphy's Law to start the show. But so you got 2 teams. We're knocking on that wood lightly, so there's no more technical nonsense at full strength that are ready to throw down. Okay, and both of these teams showing what they can do when fully healthy. Okay, the Knicks with the 40 piece. I'm just going 38. We're going to say it's a 40 piece with some special sauce tonight to an injured Boston Celtics against an injured Boston Celtics team. And Indiana Pacers against Cleveland Cavaliers team, also with injuries, although none of them for the series, but guys missed crucial games, and they gave some games away. Let's be clear on that. All right? Cleveland gave games away, had nothing to do with the injuries. They gave games away to allow for Indiana to have the advantage, which they capitalized on and did not look back, right? Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City, it's going 7. Oklahoma City gave games away, specifically game 1. But then they came back and stole a couple games, right? Game 5, stolen. Okay? So, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. I see folks. Let me just let folks know what's going on. Old school Zion right now. Let me just let people know if they want to jump on, they know where to find SandCity Sports. We're in the building. Okay. Let them know. If have any, let them know, and then we got to blast off. Let them know that we live right now if they have any takes. Okay, we go ahead and we deliver that for the people. Okay, so let's also, we're gonna go around. We got a lot to get to tonight. Okay, a lot to get to. Shout out, Mighty Mick. Mighty Mick property, right? Of Mighty Mick. Even though we celebrating the Knicks, folks, we you know what I mean? Born in the great state of New Jersey, have family in Philly to this day. Okay, proud to support the Eagles, right? And the other Philly teams, the 76ers, the Phillies, because that's the DNA, right? And so I rock this shirt, right? I'm gonna get the Mighty Mick. I rock it proudly. I got my lower, you know what I mean, my back support for this episode. Okay, and let's get into it. Shout out to Brock Purdy, right? Got all of his money. Appreciate that, and we'll touch on that a little bit. Aaron Rodgers, doing Aaron Rodgers things, going all the way down to the last minute or so. In terms of his free agency, we're gonna touch on that. It's just a beautiful thing. It's getting nice outside, getting warm. Humidity's coming back, right? And we're moving and grooving. Okay, but to begin or to stay with, let's just go around. I got to see so many things. Appreciate Facebook Friday night. That's rocking with me. IG, okay. Twitter is what it is. All right. The YouTube, Twitch, everything is good. Like, comment, subscribe. Mi casa es su casa. Okay? And let me know how you feel. But let's get this onto the screen. And let's break this down, folks. Thanks. Let's break it down. No, I don't need that ad. Come on. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. At long last, let's go ahead and share the screen. All right, so where are we, folks? In terms of the NBA writ large and in terms of the New York Knicks specifically, it's anybody's ball game right now. And we have history in the making in terms of our Final Four. Okay? There's no two ways about it where your boy stands, where the Cape Cod kid stands. It's time. This victory, in my mind, has cemented the New York Knicks as the championship favorites. Now, the odds are quite different. Okay, the odds are somewhere else in terms of what people are thinking. You know what I'm saying? And there's some disrespect, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of, I look like the New York Knicks. They got the New York Knicks as the least likely to win the championship. If I can pull this up. Okay, so all kind of things are going wild here. I can't scroll up and having some issues with the getting the shot right, and there's all kind of things going on. Getting a little clumsy late night. But I don't have the. I can just Google it up actually. But championship odds. Oklahoma City is up there. Then the Knicks. Then they were not getting respect in terms of taking this championship, which keep it up. We talk about what happens when you fool around. Okay, go ahead. You understand it? It's clear. But as far as I'm concerned, it's anybody's ball game. And never mind the Knicks. That haven't won it in 50 years. Oklahoma City ever. As an expansion. Or newer, not expansion team, just a newer team. Okay, right? Denver trying to keep that quote unquote dynastic window open, and Minnesota, some of these new kids on the block that want their shine and want their respect, right? So you know, NBA tends to be a league where you can stack up championships. NFL stands for not for long, okay? And there's incredible turnover from year to year. You win a Super Bowl one year, there's no guarantee you make the playoffs the next year. But you got to be careful what you wish for. Why? Because you might get it. The New York Knicks are in optimal position in terms of what could have been hoped for and or expected in this initial year of this new iteration of the team. Okay, even though I'm repping Philly, so again, we got what we asked for. And now it's time to go out there and shine and execute and get it done. And there's no free lunches. What did we learn from training day, which we're going to get for you on the screen? Shout out to Denzel Washington. Shout out to Detective Alonzo Harris. Shout out to Ethan Hawke. Shout out to Detective Hoyt. What did we learn from training day? Amongst other things, there's nothing free in this world. Not even arrest warrants. Nothing free. No free lunch. Nada. Don't believe what they tell you on the TV. Okay, when they're trying to sell you this, that, and the third. No zero APR financing. All of that. Okay? Nothing free in this world. And you got to control your smiles and cries. We're going to dive into that more so in a bit. But for my New York Knicks, okay, again, I'm coming back to the fold. Shout out to CP the franchise. Shout out to Knicks Fan TV. Going bonkers tonight. Okay, I'm doing what I'm doing. It's a Friday night, folks. It's a Friday night. So SandCity Sport, we're doing what we're doing tonight. We already 23 minutes into this episode. Had some technical difficulties. Had to get my shot right. And this and that and the third, and Babroke would come over here, Babroke would bring it back, you know what I mean? So I started off a little bit flustered, but now that I'm into my mode, we going in tonight. We got Slice of Life at the end of the episode. The Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals. They came out and laid hands on people that what we was calling for, okay? New York City is bumping right now. The Garden is just bananas right now. Okay, I'm doing the episode, but the Knicks fandom is just triumphant right now. Long ways to go. You don't get ahead of yourself. We don't get ahead of ourselves. All right. And CP was on this as well. CP is the franchise. You know what I mean? I don't want to put on player hate. We congratulate. But I had the same sentiments, in terms of cautious optimism. Keyword cautious. Okay. And I'm thrilled. We got Catman Scoop, Crooklyn Clan. Shout out to Fat Man Scoop. Shout out to Fat Man Scoop. Let me go. Let me see. We sharing this screen, but let me see. Now that he come to my mind, I got to see if we can. Let me see if we can get this for you on the. Hold on. Let me see. I know. Let me see if we can. If we can do this for you. I don't know if that's not it. Hold on. Fat Man Scoop. Hold on. Oh, that Fat Man Scoop for you people. That and what? Hey, hey. This was my college years. Hey, 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 hey. Yo, what? Hey. Oh, we keep it at that. We family friendly on SandCity Sports. Shout out to Fat Man Scoop. For I don't need any copyright issue. YouTube, take it, take it. Go ahead and take it. I'm dating myself, but that was my college years back in NY. It was a beautiful thing. Power 94.5 in the morning, all day, every day. Beautiful. That's how I really came to that Fat Man Scoop. R.I.P. Respect. You understand? We might have to get a little bit more. Again, I don't get SandCity. You understand? YouTube, I don't want no issue. Don't block me. Don't block me. But if take all of the revenue, that's not my lyrics. That's Fat Man Scoop, the late great. Okay, but folks, let me just go around and make sure, see how everybody's doing. Okay, Facebook is what it is. Twitter is what it is. Let's refresh Twitter. Let's go ahead and refresh and get back. Yep, Twitter is yes indeed. Yes indeed. Twitter is good. It's good to see. Beautiful thing. Twitter, okay, is good. And the YouTube and the Twitch, everything is good. But folks, we play that, that Fat Man Scoop Crooklyn Clan because let's remember this man right here, Carl Anthony Towns. This is the pride of Don Bosco in New Jersey. Pride of Don Bosco in New Jersey. He putting on for his city right now. Putting on for his city right now. We talk about Jalen Brunson, okay? That's right. You know what I mean? This is a roster of folks that's doing it from the heart, doing it out of love. You know, it's out of love right now in terms of what we have going on. And that's not to be miscounted, folks. That's not to be understated. Okay, let me just get everything right. Let me just get everything organized. We want to have no delays. Sometimes I got so many tabs open, but I got to give you, okay? Let's get back on topic. New York Knicks right now. This is the moment. Okay? This is the moment now that we can take it back to 94, folks. It's been 31 years. It's been 31 years since New York was seriously in the championship conversation. This New York Knicks team, as constituted, no ifs, ands, or buts, can get this championship. It's there. Right? Indiana Pacers, all due respect, okay, who came out and dismantled the Cleveland Cavaliers that were looking like the beast of the East under the capable leadership of Rick Carlisle. I'm going to say this is mano a mano. I want to say the Knicks are the favorites, right? Indy beat the Knicks last year, so let's just keep now. Again, the Knicks had more injuries. Indy had injuries, but we had more injuries. Indy not having Mathurin is not the same as the Knicks is not having Randall. Stop it. And there was injuries and attrition that went on, but nothing for nothing. You just look at the rosters and they're not jumping off the page. Like Tyrese Halliburton is an all-star, and then it's like who. But again, you take people lightly, you fool around, you're going to find out. And I'm not having any of that. I'm trusting my eyes. I'm saying you are what your record says you are. Shout out to Bill Parcells. And this Indiana Pacers team absolutely dismantled and, disrespected the team with the most wins in the Eastern Conference that looked like, and, again, heart goes out to Cleveland, blue collar city. Kenny Atkinson's a coach I have a lot of respect. I've said it again and again. Wish I would have, because I believed they were going to be good, and they turned out being really good. I should have been early on that. It got out of the box, and then I should have put some. What do they say? They shout out to the odd couple shekel cities. I should have put some shekels on the Cavaliers because I just knew they were going to. I felt, I didn't know because I can't see the future. You don't know these things, but I felt strongly they were going to be much better. Okay, and they were. Because Kenny Atkinson knows his business, no doubt about it. No two ways. All right. So the game is off. We're gonna come over here and just keeps it moving. We're gonna keep it moving and just stay current with what's going on right now. Let me just get this, everything in order. Had technical difficulties. We got a couple things in order, and then we had, things go haywire. So let's go ahead and get organized. Okay, so we're organized here. All right. Indiana Pacers. Right? This is a 7-game series. Okay? And this is 7 game, like everything now from here on out for the Knicks is dig deep time. There's no plays off. It's there's no clear favorite. It's like the Final Four in college basketball. Duke was the most talented team. Duke, had it, and then they fizzled down the stretch when the pressure came on against Houston. But Duke, was more talented than Houston. Florida, Duke was the most talented, and then everybody else was about the same. Houston had the most experience. Florida and Auburn battled throughout the regular season, so they went back and forth. Florida just destroyed them in the Southeast SEC championship game. It just came down to who executed. What's the connection to the NBA Final Four, the conference finals? Like, I feel that's it. The Timberwolves can get this. The Pacers can get this. The Knicks can get this. OKC or Denver. Like, it's anybody's ball game right now. Okay, and specific. Goodness gracious, these things keep moving. I keep hitting things. You don't tighten that one screw. Shout out to Hoop Dreams. You don't tighten that one screw. Come over here, get this right. And that's what, I'm learning lessons here. Just in terms of how things, once something's a little bit closer than it needs to be, a little bit further away, and it's an issue. So, but don't mind it, learn from it, grow from it, not make that mistake again, and let's rock and roll. Okay, let's rock and roll. Anybody's game. My New York Knicks, you know what I'm saying? Growing in confidence, growing in continuity, trust, belief, efficiency, right? You know what I mean? And we have guys that are willing to go down to the last man. There's not going to be any finger pointing, right? There's just going to be trusting, the quote unquote trusting the process and battling. We have the Knicks have the roster that, the roster that we need. And that, okay, no. Because Tom Thibodeau being my coach, being a Knicks fan, been considered, I was thrilled. And go back and check with Brunson because he's gonna be about the team in the process and doing it the right way. And he's also coming home to do it for his city. So you bring in Brunson, and people had their opinions to say, talk about Tom Thibodeau and what he's been able to do with point guards his entire career, most notably with Derrick Rose, but also others, as we see with Big Body Brunson. Okay. The previous iterations of the team and how he's used the guards that the Knicks had before Brunson is kind of escaping my mind as I go back, when Julius Randle was in his mode and at an all-star level. Right? Tom Thibodeau knows how to get the best out of his players, but specifically his point guards. Right? So Brunson being that, controversial, the controversy has been forgotten because it's worked out in spades. And again, credit to Leon Rose, credit to Worldwide West. They are the architects of this team. But in building it, people had a lot to say about a lot of things. And we're just going to focus on powering forward to get this championship right now. But in terms of how that is effectuated, let's be clear that, things are flowing and group because it's been built correctly. So you bring in big body Brunson before he had that nickname, but certainly had the game, came up under Tibbs' leadership, all-star, which you've seen consistently, again, for all the Tibbs skeptics and slanderers out there. Okay? So Brunson comes in, you bring Hart, again, the Nova connection, you bring Devo, the Nova connection. So we had 3 of the 4, all right, and then it's working. You got a blue-collar coach. You got blue-collar players. It was working. And then that's when these final 2 pieces, even though it hurt, having to lose Ragu, I'm not coming off of that point for anything. But then you had a situation as it is working and was working and continues to work. You have the situation, move one thing from here to there. So I got it. More sneeze. Good. Sneeze, clear the sinuses, yada, yada, yada. Seeing a little bit of a delay. Not too bad, though. Just keep picking up. Okay. But back to what I'm saying. Built for tough, built to last, right? Once it got working and got moving and got grooving, folks, now Mikal Bridges, even though, right, real deals happen in silence. Outwardly, he said, I'm good with Brooklyn, but behind this, I need to come across the river. I need to come across the river from Brooklyn to be with my people in Manhattan. All right? And now people are quiet. I'm not, but this was the vision. You want to bring in capable players, talented players. You don't necessarily need the established all-star, but you need the all-star level talent that's going to buy in. That's going to buy in. And so the Bridges deal, yes, a lot of draft capital that was, but let's not get, and people had the right to say what they wanted to say at the time. But this is the reality of why you give up that draft capital. Because of what you're getting talent-wise and equally togetherness-wise. Talent-wise and togetherness-wise. And then even beyond that, to bring Cat home, right? And you know what I'm saying? Like, player, right? We coming home again. Do you think about me now and then? Okay? I'm coming home again. Coming home again. Catman Scoop. Okay, pride of Don Bar, he's from Jersey. So this is in the DNA right here to do it. In the Big Apple. All right. So these things have lined up. The last OG for RJ, another RJ from Canada, return to the North, be with your people. The last OG, okay, known for that defense, that lockdown, that clink clink. Okay, that lockdown. Okay, all right. I need to come up out of my lockdown. I've been locked in. We got men's leagues that's getting ready to pop off, and your boy is so far out of shape and out of practices. It's ridiculous. Because I'm a Eric Snow type of a player. I put that effort. I out effort people. Not the most skilled, but I try to keyword try because I'm out of practice and out of shape right now. But when we talk about the last OG, just known as a 3-and-D guy, right? Then it hurt losing. I'm not coming off of that. It hurt losing DiVincenzo, but Landry Shamet, bucket. Campaign, bucket. Tyler Kolek, okay, pride of St. George in Rhode Island, grew up in Rhode Island, Middlesex Magic alum, trusting the process, started out looking at a Division III scholarship, kept working, and we're going to talk, we can get into, the preps because that's going on right now as well. But just a great pickup. I'm so thrilled that he's with the Knicks and he's learned, you know what I mean? And talked about what Tom Thibodeau can do with point guards and how Tyler Kolek can come in and be, now obviously this is JB, JB is JB, but they have their similarities. Yes, they're both lefties. They can both spray. They're both very good in the half court. They're both very good facilitators. So Kolek is the young apprentice and JB is the sensei to kind of, to bring him up. Okay. Got Precious. Yes, the iHeart loss hurt, and Mitch has been injured. So we have been a little thin on the front lines, but Big Mitch is back. Okay, so you knock on, I've had some technical, but we knocking on this to stay healthy. But this, like, we can match up. It was clear. I stay clear on this. The Knicks are not dynastic like the Celtics, who need to in the paint. You know what I mean? For the, we got the Celtics. Shout out to Noah Dalzell. Apologize if I mispronounced that. The Garden Report is live right now. It's just a lot of, I'm just saying, SandCity Sports, we're just happy to be here. Happy to be in the mix. Okay? So this hurts it hurts, period. Injury aside to Tatum. The Tatum injury hurts, but then losing in your dynastic window, not championship, but dynastic window, it hurts. Okay? So as thrilled as I am on the one end, I'm mindful on the other end for Celtics fans and where this franchise goes, specifically with the change in ownership. But I've said it, I'm saying it, and you don't get you mess around, and I'm including Crispy P, all four. And frankly, Wick, and we can have all speculation, but the way that the transfer of power has taken place, Wick is no dummy. Brad Stevens is no dummy. Right? They know that core four must stay together in terms of Drew and White and JB and JT. So they, they would have to have lost their ever living minds, which I'm not, because Brad Stevens said it when the whole situation with he just said, you don't envision. I'm talking about Drew Holiday, who's the X factor, who makes this team dynastic. I've been on that. Please come. If anybody has anything to say on that, please come. Let you know where to find me. But Drew Holiday is the X factor that makes this team different because he's different. But Brad Stevens says you just don't think that you have an opportunity to get a guy like a Drew Holiday. You don't think that, though that would, and then of course the Dame situation and the feud between Cronin and Riley, and that's what allowed him to be available because Cronin wasn't dealing with Miami, which would have been a good fit for Drew. He would have, he could have worked. He called, but that wasn't happening. So Brad Stevens swooped in and said, come, and then, that, then, it was a double whammy for the Bucks. Not only did they have to give up a lot to get Dame, right? They give up everything, including the kitchen sink. But then in the process of that, then you strengthen your primary adversary. So that's just a, talk about a Murphy's Law situation. You just can't, sometimes you can't even make these things up. Milwaukee does everything to appease Giannis, which I think that's instructive as well. We're going to get back to the Knicks as we go on to the NBA because free agency is also bananas right now. Free agency is just out of this world. But specific to the Milwaukee Bucks, you know what I mean? How far do you go? And that's not necessarily the Bucks' fault. They did what they had to do to get Dame, even though, you know what I mean? And let's just put this out there. It comes to my mind in terms of why there was a fatal flaw in that situation to begin with, because you moved mountains to get Dame, but then you brought him into a situation without a proven leader in Coach Bud. So you was already, what do they say in legal circles? You was already eating from that fruit of the poison tree on your first bite. Because Dame had his sights set on South Beach. He wasn't trying to be in the frozen north. He'd been in the rainy Northwest for his career. He was trying to get to South Beach. Made it clear. And then there was difficulties that he said, I'll come back to, and then, Cronin said that ship has sailed. So you got to put it out there that, the wheels are in motion. So, so Dame was set on South Beach. All right. And you put him out there, in ice fishing country. So he's going to take some convincing. Now Doc was able to keep everybody professional and keep the wheels on, which was an outstanding job in and of itself. And we've talked about that. We'll talk a little bit more. But the fact of the matter is, the reason that the Luka trade was just absolute hogwash, and there needs to be more respect on Jason Kidd's name, as far as I'm concerned, is that, Dallas was in a similar situation from the standpoint of, and they weren't getting the headlining stars, but we need to get somebody to pair with Luka to keep him happy and to make this team competitive. We can't waste Luka's coming in prime years. So the only move that they had was a mercurial, to say it lightly, to say it as nicely as possible. The only hired gun out there, if you will, was Kyrie Irving, who, as he comes to Dallas, is a known chemistry killer, is a known locker room lunatic, has orchestrated the resignation of coach after coach after coach after coach, and where he's gone, he's just not been happy. Yes, there was a shot in 2016. Respect. He's always been a bucket, an actual bucket, not just this talk about some. So no, Kyrie is a bucket. Forget the lingo and the language and things that we say that sound cool. Kyrie is the definition of a bucket. But, culturally, schematically, like, how is it going to fit? Because, Luka is Luka, headstrong, and he's, but he in this nonsense about he needs to play defense, and that's just nonsense. He has his way of doing things, and his way of doing things equates to NBA Finals, Western Conference Finals, and teams getting the business. That's who Luka is, who he's been, who he's going to continue to be. He's been giving people the business since he came into the league unchecked. Up until through, last year, where he gets the Dallas Mavericks, who were not supposed to be in the NBA Finals, in the NBA Finals. And it's not the matter of winning the NBA Finals, that was never going to happen because Boston, it was Boston's year. But the fact that he landed that team in the finals in a very competitive Western Conference is wild. But again, it's wild. We'll talk a little bit about Brock Purdy, who got his money. But for me, like in football, Patrick Mahomes, generational, all time. Yeah, but he's under Andy Reid's leadership as well. So he's in those now what came first, the chicken or the egg? We can get into this. Obviously, that was a Patriots conversation for many years. Frankly, I mean, whatever. It's not as much of a conversation in Kansas City because stylistically, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, it's much more of a partnership. Mahomes taking less money, allowing Reid to, retain players. Mahomes obviously going to have some insight into those players, right? It flows differently than Patriots, and we're not taking shots here. All right, you don't just go from being the greatest coach of all time and 6 championships and do it. Now obviously the pendulum is swung with Belichick, and he's in a different land. But that's not to take away from his method style worked for 2 decades. Okay, but it got to the point where there had to be a parting of the ways where in retrospect you could say, why did we need to part ways? And couldn't one side give the end, we could just keep it going. Could have kept it going. But Belichick, and had his way of doing things, and was wrong, dead wrong, because Tom Brady you didn't need Jimmy Garoppolo to, Belichick already planning for the next iteration, and there was no next iteration. Okay, a supernova is a supernova. They don't come around often. A blue moon is a blue moon. You don't, what I mean? Certain things that you get them, and you appreciate them while they're here, and you just know it's going to be a good long time, probably out of your lifetime, until it's again seen. That's life. That's history. Those are facts. So what we were doing, I'm going to come back to the Knicks, folks. We got Catman Scoop on it. We're coming back to the Knicks, but we're making the point. We're doing circular. It's Friday. I hope everybody out there. I let people know they haven't got. It's all good. I know people are doing what they're doing. Me casa su casa. Me casa su casa. The Facebook is good. Okay. The IG, we're doing what we're doing. The Twitter, we're doing what we're doing. The YouTube and the Twitch. It's all love tonight. It's all love. SandCity on a Friday. We going there 52 minutes. A lot to get to, and a whole lot. The Knicks going to the. We got a whole bunch to get to. It's who knows. Who knows? A beautiful thing. Okay, but let's make the connection all the way back to the Celtics. Listen, in terms of the Patriots, right? What we saw now, again, hindsight being 2020, but it was just false logic. Bill Belichick saying, like, I need to prepare for the next iteration of this dynasty. No, the dynasty is you and Tom Brady. That's the dynasty. And you guys staying together for as long as possible. Loving you whether times are good, bad. Not doing it justice, but you know what I'm saying. Shout out to Quentin Tarantino. Shout out to Pulp Fiction. That's the thing. Okay? You have a dynasty when you have Michael and Phil. You have a dynasty when you have Phil and Shaq and Kobe. Like, you know what I mean? And well, if I do this, and that's where the Celtics are, frankly, right now, to make that point. You think, well, we can put this person, and then because we really don't. No, you need each other. You need each other. You need each other. You think the grass is green? The grass is greener when you water. You need each other. Okay, and that was Belichick did not see that, did not recognize, did not understand that. And he had his system, which was Brady dependent. And then there was this question, Brady or Bill. I was firmly, this goes back to the pandemic times, firmly team Bill. Go ahead and check those episodes. Wrong. I was wrong. Others were saying, TJ Houshmandzadeh, shout out to Hoosh. Shout out to the Lemon Pepper Parlay. Does a great job. Shout out to Up on Game, Saturdays, Fox Sports Radio. We don't play, hey, we congratulate around here. Remember, TJ Houshmandzadeh was like, no, it's the players. You can, and he was right. I was wrong. He was right. I said it was the chefs. TJ said it was these ingredients. These ingredients. You can have a good chef here. You need the ingredients to make that meal. You don't got the ingredients, you ain't going to have that high quality meal, period. End of story. Right? And so, again, retrospect is we can do all these things in the moment. You're just in You're just in the process, and you have these things formulated, and you have to see how it pans out. The way it panned out for the Patriots was there was a parting of the ways. Brady took his talents and success to Tampa Bay, got him another Super Bowl. Okay, got him another Super. And again, just let's we'll talk about Purdy. We're gonna talk about Mahomes. Let's go back to Brady. Brady did his thing as a general manager because he brought in Gronk, he brought in AB, okay, and some other pieces here and there. Evans stayed, and the forget the other. They had a solid wide receiver as well. So they had Evans, and it escapes my mind, but you guys know him. Come back to me. But yeah, it was who balled out in the Super Bowl? AB balled out in that Super Bowl. Again, year one, lightning in a bottle before all the off the field stuff catches up. So AB in the Super Bowl. And again, that's crazy because Tom Brady was saying keep AB, and Bill Belichick was like, no, Patriots way in the final season. He did break but it would have worked. Belichick, you have your ways, you have your standards, so on and forth. Excuse me. You put the system over the skill. And that had AB is off the chains. Everybody knows it. But we can see in terms of how it worked the next year, because the man essentially took a year off from football, but then came back the next year. Brady brought him in, you know what I mean, and just kept him. He was and they won a Super Bowl, and he balled in the Super Bowl. Gronkowski, same thing, retired, took some time off, yada, you know what I mean, or wasn't sure, whatever, and came back and balled in the Super Bowl when it mattered most. We are going to get back to the Knicks, but the point is, right, that now you go back. That if Bill would have given, Bill needed to give and let Tom have some, and and there's the Patriots, but you got to change with the times. He wouldn't do it. It was proven to work elsewhere, and then the next 4 years were very difficult, and now he's in Carolina, and he's an old ball coach, and we'll see how it goes. All right. What is the connection all the way back to the Knicks? Okay, the connection is the Knicks have that. Guys are, it's reciprocal. It's reciprocal. Yes, it's Tom Thibodeau's way. People think he's more rigid than he is. It's going to be Tibbs' way. But when you say Tibbs' way is just about toughness and consistency. And then within that, he's willing to let guys do what they do. So people don't realize about Tibbs. But the Knicks have similar to, and I'm not putting the Knicks next to King, but there's people are on the same page. People are taking coaching and coming up under authority and leadership, but then also being able to contribute into their little pieces. So everybody is, yes, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be considerate of you, and I'm and you consider me in the process, which gives me confidence and says, okay, now I'm ready to run through that wall for this thing here. Right? So that's what this Knicks team has. And that you might not have if you bring in a star that has their own agenda, so on and forth. Okay, so back to what, you know what I mean? But like Indy has that same thing. So it's going 7, folks. It's going 7. Advantage Knicks, but it's going to be wild. Because Indy's tough. They're tough. Halliburton, Spicy P, Miles Turner, Matherin, TJ McConnell, these guys that you might not know, but they've been coached up. So you're going to know them. And know them more so. I got to go on 7, advantage Knicks. Okay? But we touched on a lot there, but what I'm getting at solely is, yes, you got to strike while the iron is hot, and this is what had been hoped for and is here. But that being said, Knicks about that life. Knicks are built for this. They built for it. Okay? And guys like this man here, Karl-Anthony Towns, hungry to win a championship, hungry to break through to the finals, as well as doing it for his hometown, his city, his region. out of New Jersey, right? Brunson, same thing. These are guys that, remember being slighted, remember not being considered, have something to prove, as well as the greater overall to get it for New York in this half a century drought. So as we come back, you know what I mean? It's come a long way. As we go over the hour mark on this Friday edition of SandCity Sports. By for me, Sue, come through. You know what it is. Knicks have come a long way. But this is this is where you want to be, and so a long ways to go. A long ways to go on this journey to get that championship, as they said in Chicago during the dynastic years, to get down for your crown. The Knicks now can, really get in the conversation of getting down for their crown. All right, let's take a look because it's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Friday night. We're going to take a look at the Denver and this is fascinating to me. Fascinating in that I had looked past the Denver Nuggets. I underestimated the heart of a champion. I made that mistake. And, I'm finding out. I am finding out. Let's get it for the people, and let's go in on this series. Headed for Game 7. We're going to subscribe later. Hold on. We don't need to skip the ad. We can just X the ad out. Good. You get the point. And we got I X one ad out, and you give me more ads. Again, I understand. Hey, we're going to keep Fat Man Scoop. We might need Fat Man Scoop. Okay, folks, SandCity Sports, Friday edition. And yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Let's just check, see what's going on. See folks rocking on the Facebook. Appreciate you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Twitter is Twitter. Oh, I don't know what happened. Twitter sometimes messes around. I'm sharing over here. I don't know what, excuse me, not Twitter, but the live stream sometime. Let me try this. Let's see if this works. See, sometimes there's trouble because I don't know if I can. If I just go to go live. Because I'm already live. I don't know if I can add. Let's try it. I don't see any reason why I can't. No, see, I can't because I'm already locked in. Yeah, I can't add account. Once some. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Apologize for the technical issues. Not sure why IG was with me, and then for some reason it. Sometimes it goes. It is what it is. Good on Twitter. Tube. Let's keep it moving and grooving, folks. All right. What did Rudy Tom Jonathan say? You can never underestimate the heart of a champion. And for me, I was OKC or the field, OKC or bust. And particularly because coach I had a lot of respect for, Mike Malone, was shown the door. And they had a very difficult matchup against an LA Clippers team that didn't do foolish things like that. And had a healthy Kawhi Leonard, amazingly. I said, Denver, you did it to yourself, and there's a reason you don't make foolish moves like that, and you're gonna find out. That was my. And then they went in a 7-game battle. Very capable Clippers team won that series convincingly in Game 7, and now we're in a Game 7 in Oklahoma City. So, this for me is in the previous argument that I made about the chef is super important, but the ingredients are more important if all things are equal. You got all these great chefs. Okay, it's the chef with the best ingredients that's going to produce the best meal. And with Denver, what has been seen, recognizing that this team, Mike Malone and this group, lost some years after the bubble because of injuries, right? So they broke through in the bubble, but then they had injuries, leading up to 2023, when they got to the top of the mountain. That was their first year fully healthy. You add Gordon to the mix, right? And they bring it home. Okay, but there was, they could have been more so in the conversation prior to that had they been healthy. And I mentioned that only to highlight, for me, it's that, strategic advantage, disadvantage, whatever. Okay. What has happened with Denver that I didn't anticipate is that you're seeing how much of a mind for the game that Jokic has and how dominant he is, right? That's another storyline in terms of Joker versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Who's had the better series? Who, you know what I mean? And, Shai is Joker's had some, ridiculous games, 40 points here, 40 points there. Then he's had a couple clunkers, low field goal shooting games, which is unlike Joker, but which does go to the fact that they're off. You know what I mean? It is kind of Joker and Murray dependent more so than it might have been without, with Mike Malone. So but that's not my point. My point is that strategic advantage, disadvantage, there is a disadvantage because you just don't replace NBA Hall of Fame coaches. What I'm saying is that it's just come down to mano a mano. Like, forget about everything else. I'm feeling some type of way. You not fitting to move me. You're not going to take away another championship from me under any circumstances. And that's just the bottom line. Right? You know what I mean? Joker, Murray, like this combo has just said to a, Oklahoma City team They essentially said, "You're not like that." You know, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you're getting all the prayer envy. You're not like that. You're not like that. Jamo, you're not like that. Denver just looked across the way at a team that has had everything clicking and has done it the right way, and everybody's under 23, and they got, a zillion draft picks, and they're all about team. They do the press conferences together, and they got their experience last year. They're younger, they're in tremendous shape. You know, then Joker and Murray just looked across the way at them and just like, and what? You ain't got nothing for me today. And they've been right. Oklahoma City has not had anything for Murray and Joker throughout this series and in pivotal games. Yes, Chet Holmgren missed the free throws, and gave games away, but also Denver has given some games away. Like Denver, to get it back to 2-2, Denver could have easily gone up 3-1. They had OKC up against the wall, and OKC responded. They came back in a big way. And then Denver, was doing their thing in game 6. And OKC had to come back again. So that just, for me, that's about Joker and Murray, Batman and Robin, just being like, you done forgot. And we will remind you of who we are. Everybody getting caught up in the drama, things going on the sidelines, in the front office, and team, we've had our ups and downs during the year. You're focusing on our internal stuff. But you don't forgot that in between these lines, mano y mano, and I forgot about Aaron Gordon, okay, who's talented, who is playing for, things beyond himself, is playing with a sense of appreciation and determination. Michael Porter Jr., who's had his struggles, and has that, and has been through a lot, and has kind of come back to basketball as that grounding, fortifying place. Like these guys are just outmaneuvering the new kids on the block and really putting Oklahoma City in a situation whereas, a little bit different, but not that much, putting Oklahoma City in a situation of the Seattle Supersonics, who, again, I'm dating myself, but I don't care. Folks who remember the Seattle Supersonics, okay, of championship pedigree and fame in 93, having the number 1 seed, in 94, having the number 1 seed, in 90, you know what I mean? The Seattle Supersonics were supposed to, right? 93, they lose in game 7 to the Suns. Charles Barkley goes bananas. 94 was supposed to be their year. Okay, and they get knocked out in the first. Like that Seattle Supersonics team, we're talking about Gary Payton. We're talking about Kendall. I might have to get this for you people on the screen. We're going to stay with this image, but Gary Payton. We're talking about Kendall Gill. We're talking about Detlef Shrimp. We're talking about Sean Kemp. We're talking about whoever the heck their center was. They had a bunch of just centers. Whoever George Karl just threw in just a lumbering big man at center. But that first 4, speaking of first 4s that can't be broken up, and first 5s that can't be broken up, the Celtics need to keep Crispy P. Excuse me. That was a travel by Karl Anthony Towns on the and 1. Straight line drive against Horford. He traveled. NBA doesn't call travels. You can take 18 steps. But I like, again, talk about Tibbs all you want. I like how Tibbs, and he's always done this. You know what I mean? You're going to do this, you're going to do that, we're going to pound you in the paint. We're not just going to have Karl Anthony Towns, even though he can't spray, shooting these, volume 3s. You notice how the Celtics used Drew Holiday bodying Brunson. I don't know, where was that in games 1, game 2, game 3? Where was that? You know what I mean? That's, you use Drew Holiday now because they should have been doing that all series. Specifically when they had those huge leads. Specifically when the Knicks were making runs. Get Drew to the free throw line. Make Brunson have, all this hunting matchups that the Knicks do. The Celtics, it's just crazy to me. Thinking about it. Goes to coaching and culture. The Celtics did not, they're just looking for scheming, hunting threes rather than scheming matchups. Back to this Denver Nuggets team and then Oklahoma City. I talked about Denver underestimating the heart of a champion. Specific to Oklahoma City, right? Pressure is on them. Going back to those 90s Seattle Supersonics teams, when they finally broke through in 96, who had come back? The Seattle Supersonics allowed, frankly, the Houston Rockets to take both of their championships. That's what they did. 1 or 2 of those championships in the Jordan baseball years should have been the Seattle Supersonics. But they couldn't get out of their own way, and they couldn't get out of the first round. You credit them for staying together, trusting the process, but by the time they were ready, Jordan has established himself, and their window had all but closed. Utah had risen up, and they were done. But they had a chance in 93, and they most certainly in 94, 95, where I believe they had the best record. Think about, why the NBA went from, 5 games to 7 games for the first round. You had these great teams that just kept getting knocked out. I mean, you just can't have it. First of all, it had nothing to do with it being 5 versus 7. And you obviously 7 games, you get more money, but Deuce with the block. Hart, straight line drive. Yeah, Knicks won't want it tonight. So that's how I feel about Oklahoma City Thunder right now. It's theirs for the taking. Going to be sad. A good team is going to go home. That's life. That's the playoffs. So Denver, it's tough. They're still fighting to hold on to their dynastic, their championship window. I don't see them as dynastic, but I could be wrong. They could get another championship this year. And Oklahoma City, that's done things the right way, and that is, that's on the precipice once again. That has allowed Denver, right? Because they're the clear, they're Oklahoma City, they've shown that they're not the favorites. They're just a contender. They're not any better than any of these other teams. Right? So one of these two is going to move forward to face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is tough. I'm saying Oklahoma City. I'm staying with OKC. I can't get away from the Mike Malone thing for me. I'm just not getting off of that. Denver wins. I'm happy for them. Good. They earned it. They deserve it. They to be respected and feared. Don't like how the Malone situation went down. So I'm going OKC. All right, now let's talk about conference finals. Hope everybody out there is doing well on this Friday. As we move and groove. All right, let's get it going. So the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's get Anthony Edwards on the screen. Talk mini. Talk a little bit of football, not too much. We're going to get into our slice of life and keeps it moving. stop sharing. Come back to home base. SandCity Sports by and for. You know what this is. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Minnesota, see them a lot like Indiana. Okay? In terms of just dangerous. A little bit more star power. They have Ant-Man, obviously. They have Randall, Rudy. Right? Come on. They just had it. Just had the proper. Let's go to Sports Illustrated. Thank you, Sports Illustrated. On this Friday edition, respect. All right, folks. So Minnesota, more talented version of Indiana. Similar composition is in that they've been there last year. A little bit underappreciated, disrespected, however you want to put that, right? And they are, you know what I mean? They have the pieces. Yes, it's a loss of cap, but they replace him with Randall. They still have coming off the bench. You got Nas Reed, who's a problem, who's a 3-and-D guy, who's a stretch 4 guy. You know, Jaden Daniels is a defensive juggernaut. Mike Conley gives you that stability in the structure. Capable coach and Finch on the bench. You know, Minnesota, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they have it. Okay, and they have arguably, you know, the best player remaining of the Final Four in Anthony Edwards. Who's the best? Is it Shea? Is it Joker? Is it Ant-Man? Is it Brunson? Is it Halliburton? Right? I put Ant-Man, you know, top 2, 3. Okay, and just in terms of, you know what I mean, and he just has that ability to take over, to physically impose. You know, everybody's skilled and can, you know, but Ant-Man of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the Joker and Hallie and Big Body. You know what I mean? Ant-Man is just athletically on another level from all of those guys on both ends of the floor, right? You go back, you watch The Last Dance, you talk about, you know, the Bull staff, just like first eye test with Michael Jordan. When he first got to he's like, we got the draft right. I can't tell you everything. I can tell you that. You know, not this well, maybe. Like, I mean, and that's how I feel like when we talk about the Hall of Fame, people want to talk about the Hall of Fame, and they're like, you know what I mean? If it takes you more than 3 seconds, probably not. And I know, you know, we got to, you know, there's a difference between a Hall of Fame and a Lifetime Achievement Award. I feel strongly about that. Hall of Fame is about the Babe Ruths of the world, about the Joe Montanas of the world, it's about the Patrick Mahomes. That's what it's about. Everybody needs their moment in the sun. Everybody needs to get their recognition, and we live in an I society. And I get up. The Hall of Fame is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Good. It's the Hall of Fame. So if you got a, well, you know, and he's a good guy and he gave the check, they're not a Hall of Famer. They're not. Okay, and right, you know, they're not. So to this conversation in terms of Anthony Edwards, he's just, you know what I mean? Like, he put that fear into you. That nothing for nothing. And again, this is the Denver, Oklahoma City type of situation, right? And that's like I was talking about, like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has yet to take over a game, like take the game over. Like, I don't care what you do, how you do it, you know, I don't care. I'm here, you're not, and that's the bottom line. Like, just storm, like just take a game over by storm. Okay, and so that now Ant has his clunkers. You know what I mean? He has his times, but that's what's distinctive about Minnesota. They're just a very well constructed beat. You know what I mean? They can go inside, they can go outside, they can defend. They have really good size. You know, and if it's a rematch, Denver and then it's a rematch. But you know, advantage Minnesota. Last year the Nuggets had the advantage, and Minnesota was the New Jacks. Now, the experience. Now Denver has championship experience, and they're old. But it's like Minnesota. Like we've been there, we've done that. Like it's our time now. It's our time now. Like get up and out of here. And Anthony Edwards he's not shy. He's not gonna do it in a shy way. He's gonna do it my way. Right? So is it appealing, and is Minnesota a big market, and who cares? They can win this championship. Like pound for pound, they're as talented, more talented than who cares? I think that all the teams, they just have, right? They're talented, they're together. They can hit, they can beat you this way, they can beat you that way. But Minnesota has a unicorn. Okay, Joker is a uniform in terms of his efficiency and his IQ. Joker is the modern day Arvydas Sabonis. Appreciate the words from Missoula to Thibodeau. Talked about basketball lifer. And just that textbook definition of coach. Right? Talk about the will to prepare. Games are easy. It's the will to prepare that makes the difference. The games are easy. 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 Easy, my friend. So yes. Whoever, whenever can get it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going with OKC. A little bit of pettiness, but if it's Denver, it's Denver. But either one of these teams can get it from Minnesota, who also I think feels like they allowed Dallas, like they could with a better team last year. They were here last year, and there's nothing they could have beat Dallas. There's nothing preventing that. It was just threes and twos to me. Minnesota's trying to scheme, and just Dallas is just offensively just more efficient offensively, and just put Minnesota. Minnesota miss a layup here, miss a layup there, then Dallas just come back down and hit 2 threes. And they got it just more in the flow. What do I mean by that? Again, before you decided to, fix what wasn't broken, I don't care who you are. If Kyrie has you on an island, which you're going to be on an island unless you double him, and you double Kyrie, you're going to skip it over to Luka. You double Luka, you're going to skip it over to Kyrie. So you can't really double anybody, but they're spreading you out. They're putting somebody on an island. They're going to crack the paint. So I'm cooking. Whoever's in front of me is getting fish filleted, barbecue, extra, medium well. You're just getting it. And just, you know what I mean? Reminds me of back in the day, Dominique Wilkins. The Knicks are going bananas right now. It's crazy right now. It's crazy out in front of the Garden. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing right now. Knicks fan TV going on. They're gonna go longer than this episode. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. 34th and 7th Avenue. NYPD said it's level 4 mobilization. We need more to just keep people safe right now. It's bananas. The city, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. Just to get to this point, and again, I'm not CP the franchise. Check them out. CP the franchise can give you the full arc. I returned when Tibbs returned. And for me, at least, okay, y'all had a lot to say. Been a lot to say about my coach. A lot. Okay. So that's the triumph for me. Long way to go, folks. Long way to go. But all we, you know what I mean? We not that the them receipts gonna be the gift that keeps on giving. All right. So I'm just so happy for the city. I'm so happy for the fandom. For me personally, all the Tibbs, this and that, and the third. Shut your mouth. That's what I got to say. Y'all, you know what I mean? Put respect up on that man's name. And what? And what? Done brought prosperity back. Long way to go. Rick Carlisle coming through. Rick Carlisle about it. So we got. So we aren't gonna get too much in this moment, but it's a moment. It's a moment. The weather is nice outside. You know, you can get out and you know what I mean. You can get out and be out and just hey, it's a moment. It's a moment tonight. It's a beautiful thing for Knicks fans. Only two things in sports: there's winning and there's misery. So, in terms of the Commonwealth, respectfully, respectfully. But this is a moment for the Knicks, a moment for Tibbs, you know, and you know, Team Tibbs, man, it's what it is. But what did Nick Saban say? 48-hour rule. You have your moment. Um, and I think that I saw something where Nick Saban had a coaches meeting like the day after they won the Natty at 7:30. Like they won the Natty the next day, 7:30 a.m. coaches meeting. You know, it's like the Ohio State Michigan game. You know, like if you win, like the next day you start ready, getting prepared for the next year. You know what I mean? It's of that order. So Timberwolves, and again, I'm Nick's tried and true through and through, but they got a unicorn. You know what I mean? Now, does he want to be a unicorn? We'll see. But we see what Joker is doing, and you know, Joker just said, "Oh, you know what I mean." And Joker is not. He's in good shape. He's not in like top. You know what I mean? In terms of all this, oh, you know what I mean. Anybody also, you see Joker's family. They're just big Viking like dudes, man. Just these big European Vikings. Nothing wrong with that. They're also, you know, very thoughtful and you know what I mean? But they're just big men that like I'm bigger than you, man. You know what I mean? And I don't have to be a gentle giant. You know what I mean? Just understand that I am twice, three times your size. All right. And you know, speak like, you know, talk softly when you're around me, my people. Right. And so Joker, you know, he's not explosive, but he's not gonna, you know, he's gonna put his he's gonna body people. He's just gonna get down to like, you know, you can't move me. And I'm going to move you. That's what I like about how he's imposing, you know. Um, but Ant-Man has that physical strength, but then the explosiveness to go along with it. Um, and we'll see how he deploys it. We'll see. But he's what makes Minnesota dynamic. Okay, folks, we're at that time. We're going to do some slice of life stuff. Got a few things, number of things to get to. And we're gonna do some. Oh, I got a lot to. There's just so much. I mean, so much. So I got to go back. Mm, mm. So we're gonna look. We're gonna just look at life first of all, and counting your blessings. We're gonna start. I haven't started here for a while. Um, but we're just gonna talk a little bit about working class heroes, and then just counting them blessings. Um, and the gentleman does a really good job with his economic takes. I got to find him. I passed him, frankly. I passed him. So I come back down, and then we're just going to look at, he's going to set the scene in terms of, right? A working class hero is something to be. Got another take. Kyrie opened up. Need to have these schemed up previously. Had all kind of production issues today. Don't play, hate, we congratulate. So much quality stuff. This gentleman, it's further up. So to take, all right, I got to find the one that I'm looking for. I'm committed to finding it. I notice there's a little bit of a delay. But I got to find it. We're going to start there, and then we're going to work our way back. I'm going all the way back here. This is wild. And then I got to come back down. It's taking them too long of a time right now. All right, we're T-minus 1 minute. This delay has been too much. This delay has been too much, so I'm going to see if I can find it in the next minute. And if not, we did talk about that. We got the KRS-One for the people. We're going to go to the other one. T-minus 30 seconds here. Apologies, folks. Poor. We are counting down. Goodness gracious. Feel like I'm close, but I can't get it. Yeah. No, it's messing with me. I discussed that one. No, it doesn't want to work. All right. Oh, I just got it. Yes, indeed. Okay. Took forever in a day. My apologies. All right, let's get into the slice of life stuff in terms of and this for me, right? You gotta grow where you're planted, and you gotta appreciate. You gotta just understand what the situation. This guy, he kind of breaks it down. No excuses, but just let's look. It is what it is.
For the boomers in the 70s and 80s, and what has changed. Let me give you a few examples. Number one, in the 70s and 80s, you could buy a house for $30,000 to $50,000. People could raise their family and have hope for the future. Number two, union jobs were way more prevalent. This helped with worker protections and negotiating pay for higher wages, and a lot of these union jobs came with a pension. Number three, college actually worked. You could go to school for a few $1,000s, and the job you could get with your degree paid you significantly more than the cost of college. Number four, Social Security was actually strong, and there was confidence that that it was going to be there for them, giving them hope. And number 5, 401ks were introduced in the 80s, so they had another avenue to save for retirement. Now, the boomers always come at us and say, why are you saying it was easy? I was living paycheck to paycheck. You don't realize how hard it was. Exactly. Look at all the advantages you had and how hard it still was. Think about the kids today. They cannot buy a house. Union jobs aren't as available. College is completely out of whack. They're spending 80 grand to get a job for $50,000. It's backwards. Social Security could be depleted by 2033. And yes, 401ks and Roth IRAs are available. And millennials and Gen Zers, we should be investing, but it's down the priority list because they're trying to buy a house, pay off their debt, deal with these high cost of living. Why was it easier for the boomers in the 70s and 80s, and what has changed? Let me give you a few examples. Number 1, in the 70s and 80s, you could buy a house for $30,000 to $50,000. People could raise their family and have hope for the future. Number 2, union jobs were way more prevalent. This helped with worker protections and negotiating pay for higher wages, and a lot of these union jobs came with a pension. Number 3, college actually worked. You could go to school for a few $1,000s, and the job you could get with your degree paid you significantly more than the cost of college. Number 4, Social Security was actually strong, and there was confidence that it was going to be there for them, giving them hope. And number 5, 401ks were introduced in the 80s, so they had another avenue to save for retirement. Now, the boomers always come at us and say, why are you saying it was easy? I was living paycheck to paycheck. You don't realize how hard it was. Exactly. Look at all the advantages you had and how hard it still was. Think about the kids today. They cannot buy a house. Union jobs aren't as available. College is completely out of whack. They're spending 80 grand to get a job for $50,000. It's backwards. Social Security could be depleted by 2033. And yes, 401ks and Roth IRAs are available. And millennials and Gen Zers, we should be investing, but it's down the priority list because they're trying to buy a house, pay off their debt, deal with these high cost of living. Why was it easier for the boomers in the 70s and 80s, and what has changed? Let me give you a few examples.
You gave more than a few. You know, and it's not about excuses. It's not about excuses, you know what I mean? But this guy, he brings up, right? Just in terms of the grind sometimes, you know, and you think to you know, you're saying, yeah, I'm grinding. I just, you know, sometimes you're not always feeling the progress. You know, one of the things I learned, you know, from the elders in my life, you know, is sometimes you're going to be on the journey and you're just not going to feel progress. It doesn't mean that you're not progressing. Doesn't mean you're not progressing. You just can't feel it as much. Okay, and I want to start there because you know I had a you know that just given me like the 9 to 5, and I want to talk about counting the blessings. It's taken me a little bit of time to find these things. Going to find them. You know, just in terms of now we gotta. Okay, right? So that's right. The working class heroes out there stand strong, right? You know, you won, you know, and you know, stand strong. As times change. You know, we have the American dream and give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. All of that and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the upward mobility. We have the, you know what I mean? But what he's explaining is for me personally, I just, you know, I didn't have that extra eye of the tiger. That you know, I grew up middle class and college educated parents and you know, I didn't rest on my, you know, I appreciated, you know, and you know, you realize you have more. I remember I went to prep school and my roommate's from Chicago and he just couldn't believe that I grew up in a house that had more than one bathroom. You know, things like that and multiple you know, the things that, you know, but you notice like I have, you know, and you're thankful for those things. You know, but the bottom line is what I've learned is you just didn't realize how hard mom and dad had to work for those things. Now, was he just alluded to there were certain things that were different than my generation, but what wasn't different is that, you know, you really got to dig deep and regardless of where you're coming from, middle class, upper middle class, working class, you know what I mean? Um, Wherever you're coming into this, it's just, and you can't, like my thing was, okay, I get the college diploma and then like it'll just lighten up. And it's just a continual grind. the same grind that it was in middle school, the same grind that it is to get into high school and to find your place, the same grind that it is as you're getting to be upperclassmen in high school to shine bright in your moment and take in all the things that are going on. Then you go to college or your career, you start all over again. You got to build yourself up. The same thing as when you're coming from middle school to high school, same thing as high school to college. You got to start all over, build yourself up, and then when you graduate in college, the same thing. You start all over, build yourself up, whether you're going for a graduate degree, whether you're going into the real, it's just a continual process of starting over and building yourself back up. And you know what I mean? And just having that real, you know what I mean? Like, I have to do this, right? When you're leveling up, it's just no two ways about it. Like, you have to do certain things and you don't even think twice about them, but then you get to a certain point and you're like, hey, I can kick my feet back. I can kind of chill. I got this now. I can do and there's nothing, I'm not saying, oh, don't go on vacation. That's not what I'm saying. So let's get it right. But what I am saying is that, you know what I mean, for the majority of us, and we're going to get to some pieces, about the 1%. I'm going to talk about the 1% because they have their own different challenges that we've talked about, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. But for the working class folks, which is the overall majority, it's just to get ahead of this curve that this man is talking about. You really got to be loyal. You got to be loyal to the source. You really to get ahead of the curve, not just to be paycheck to paycheck or thereabouts. You really got to have something extra in you, and you know what I mean. That's what I've come to understand, which is hey, it is what it is, man. It's a beautiful thing. But there's hardship in there, as he talked about. Now, that being said, this, you know what I mean, you don't, as we talk about, like, you got to be thankful for what you got.
Dead cities in the USA, everyone is fleeing. Number 3, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis lost over 77,000 residents in just 10 years, becoming America's fastest shrinking city. It has a violent incident rate of 87 per 100,000 people, over 15 times the national average. Over 25% of homes sit abandoned, and some neighborhoods look like entire zombie movie sets. There are parts so empty that in a 2023 survey, less than one person per acre was recorded living there. Number 2, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit crashed from 1.85 million people to just 620,000, wiping out 2/3 of its population like a ghost wave. The city has over 70,000 abandoned buildings, so many that experts say it would take 40 years to tear them all down. 50% of adults struggle with basic reading, and the car insurance costs here are so extreme, the average bill is higher than some monthly rents. In some areas, homes for $1 still sit untouched for years, overtaken by trees and wild animals. Number 1, Gary, Indiana. Gary fell from 178,000 residents to under 66,000, losing more people than entire small countries. Today, over 30% of the city is abandoned wasteland, with schools, malls, and even entire neighborhoods left frozen in time. In 2024, real estate surveys found more stray animals than children living in some areas. What do you think is the main cause of this issue? Let us know in the comments. The 3 most dead cities in the USA, everyone is fleeing. Number 3, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis lost over 77,000 residents in just 10 years, becoming America's fastest shrinking city. It has a violent incident rate of 87 per 100,000 people, over 15 times the national average. Over 25% of homes sit abandoned, and some neighborhoods look like entire zombie movie sets. There are parts so empty that in a 2023 survey, less than one person per acre was recorded living there. Number 2, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit crashed from 1.85 million people to just 620,000, wiping out 2/3 of its population like a ghost wave. The city has over 70,000 abandoned buildings, so many that experts say it would take 40 years to tear them all down. 50% of adults struggle with basic reading, and the car insurance costs here are so extreme, the average bill is higher than some monthly rents. In some areas, homes for $1 still sit untouched for years, overtaken by trees and wild animals. Number 1, Gary, Indiana. Gary fell from 178,000 residents to under 66,000, losing more people than entire small countries. Today, over 30% of the city is abandoned wasteland, with schools, malls, and even entire neighborhoods left frozen in time. In 2024, real estate surveys found more stray animals than children living in some areas. What do you think is the main cause of this issue? Let us know in the comments.
So again, perspective, first kind of just talked about working class heroes and what it takes to you paid into the system, you got your, you did what you were supposed to be doing, and now it's just incredibly difficult to kind of ride those waves, so to speak, and just kind of maintain something. And then this, for me, just is that perspective relative to, you know what I mean? You just got to count them blessings every day. You got to count them and recount them again and again and again and again. You know what I mean? Because, and those, you're not going to see any of that. That's not going to be publicized, but it's certainly accurate just in terms of major American cities that have just abandoned. I was talking today, we give an example, talking about Stranger Things, talking about the upside down, right? That other realm, that other world. That's, we don't see, but it's clearly a part of American life, in terms of taking 40 years just to clear the abandoned buildings in major American cities. So, there's certainly levels. There's certainly levels. Okay. We're gonna continue on. Got a couple more things. Slice of life. You know what I mean? There's levels to this, and every grind is different. But woo, that did not realize we had cities. We had ghost cities. Didn't know that. Okay, let's keep it going about slice of life.
To be number 2, and that's the problem.
That's the
problem. That's the problem.
That's the bar.
Don't know how to play their position. If you're a mechanic, you're a mechanic. If you're a barber, you're a barber. Everybody want to be the chief. Nobody want to be the Indian. Nobody want to play lawyer. When I was coming up, my brother was the boss. I wasn't the boss. I was the second in command. So when my brother got out the car, I held the door for him. And when he walked out, I walked next to him like this. I knew how to be number 2.
But when did that shit happen?
You're not listening to me. It happened my whole life. What I'm trying to tell you, we in the streets. I know how to be number 2.
From jump?
I am rich. Okay? Hold on. Yo, both mics. I am rich. I can't stop making money. I just make it. I'm being honest with you. When I'm around my little brother Khaled, I am not richer than him. So I open the door.
There it is.
I know how to be number 2, and that's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the bar.
Don't know how to play their position. If you're a mechanic, you're a mechanic.
Okay.
If you're a barber, you're a barber.
What?
Everybody want to be the chief. Nobody want to be the Indian. Nobody want to play lawyer. When I was coming up, my brother was the boss. I wasn't the boss. I was the second in command. So when my brother got out the car, I held the door for him. And when he walked out, I walked next to him like this. I knew how to be number 2.
But when did that shit
You're not
happen?
listening to me. It happened my whole life. What I'm trying to tell you, we in the streets. I know how to be number 2.
From jump?
I am rich. Okay? Hold on. Yo, both mics. I am rich. I can't stop making money. I just make it. I'm being honest with you. When I'm around my little brother Khaled, I am not richer than him. So I open the door.
There it is.
I know how to be number 2, and that's the problem.
He said, when I'm right in terms of that's I didn't see any lies detected from Joe. Didn't see any lies detected in terms of, you know what I mean? You gotta be able to. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to wear that crown, but everybody wants to be the one, but they say heavy weighs the crown. We don't want the weight. We just want to be we don't want the weight that goes with it. We just want to be number 1. And if you can't handle the weight, then you can't handle the crown. That's what you can't handle the weight. You can't handle the crown. So, but we just want the crown. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right. And we're going to stay on that. We got a couple more to get to, but I just want to, we got to talk a little bit about preps, but I want to hammer home that point that was just made, and then we'll talk a little bit about preps. Okay, let me know how you feel. Like, comment, all of that. If you like this slice of life stuff, this is a Friday, so you know what I mean. I got a little bit of time tomorrow, so we going in tonight. We going in. It's got to be what it's got to be. Okay, and I need to get these clips so that they're one after the other, and then I got to go searching, and I have to, it's crazy. Apologies in advance, but I got to get this next clip that goes with that clip, and it's a little bit further up. I know I have it, but there's so much content, there's so much stuff, so then I have to like go past it, and I have to come back down to get it. That's what ends up happening. So much stuff, and it takes time for me to find my next clip. The one after this is not going to be a delay. These delays are no good. I recognize that. These delays are not good. Got a couple that's I'm just seeing some of these slice of life I got to get to. They're deep. I know I saved this clip, and then it boggles my mind. I can't come back. I need to do this beforehand. That's why. I know I had it. No. I can't. It's crazy. This is bananas. I can't. What the heck did I do with it? Now I got to go to the other one to see if I put it in a different. We got to keep it moving. It's too much. So I was going to do one relative to the economic piece. I can't find it. So we're going to do it culturally. We're going to speak culturally. We're going to go culturally. And I might have one more after this, and we're going to get up out of here. Let me know what you think. Okay, we're going to talk about the process, the journey. Talk about the journey into the new day. We still on the Twitter and the YouTube. Or the lives are still going on. We still going. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like, comment, all that good stuff. We're doing a slice of life to finish. And we're talking about the journey. Similar to, I had an economic point, but this is more cultural and just from a standpoint of fathers and sons. Let's get it.
Dad, what's the best advice you'd give Carlos? Try to understand the game in the industry, because it's a lot of bullshit that goes on in the industry.
Right.
Yeah. And AAU, and there's more and more bullshit that's coming into the game with money, NIL, everything be looking good these days. So it's like at the end of the day, understanding the landscape of the game and also understand where he fit in at. When you start moving around, it gets muddy. It's transfer portal in AAU.
And it's a whole lot faster. My son, he's just getting started in his career. You ain't watch 16 basketball games in a row.
Gotta go find oranges and shit over there on the road.
You ain't never fed all. When the you get this many players on the team, right? Like them Saturdays be long as hell.
Being the AAU pops is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, because you got to really have your heart in this.
As a seasoned AAU dad, what's the best advice you give Carlos?
But my son, man, he out there, he doing his thing. I'll be proud of him. You see, I post every clip.
Hey.
You say about to be like Team Rant and LeVar Ball, man.
I am. He gonna get us out the hood.
Are you loud on the sidelines? I mean, I could imagine what type of heckling folks have to deal with, but if they see you out there,
they can't do no heckling.
You don't get into it with nobody?
Nah.
Oh, come on.
Nah, man, because we doing something else.
Okay.
I be watching Melo and them. I just be chilling. I put my hoodie on and be in the back. I just be doing some little bullshit signs, make it look like we worked on something. Hey, run two. Me.
Y'all both are super proud dads, man. Like, I know there's a little bit of restraint you got to practice.
But I don't want to do too much, dog, because I want, focus on him.
Of course.
So I just be trying to keep it low, but I be excited as hell. But my son, man, he out there, he doing his thing. I'll be proud of him. You see, I post every clip.
Hey, we're going to watch this again.
You say about to be like Tim Rant and LeVar Ball, man.
I am. He going to get us out the
hood. Are you loud?
One day, they just go to bed and they just walk out and be big people. Like my son, he's 6'6". If he get any taller, I'm gonna have to help him find his real daddy. I remember he was my little boy, and then he started looking down on me like, "What's up?" Now he taller than me. He be like, "What's up, little Bill?" I love watching him, get to excel at something that I never even really, I never really played basketball. So to see him have his own skill set and really put his own work in, I'll be having him work with people and stuff like that, because it's like now he at a level that's like, okay, you might be really ready to go play on another level with. I want to make sure that I use all my resources and everybody that I know to try to, groom the talent. So Melo, like your son, he following in your footsteps, but he got you though. What type of game do you give him that you wish somebody would have gave you? One day they just go to bed and they just walk out and be big people. And my son,
you have something that I never had, which is somebody who's been through it already at every level of what you're trying to accomplish. Utilize me. Don't shy away from me, because everybody else wants you to do your own thing and carve your own path out. Like, nah, that's the whole purpose of this. I worked so hard to create this path. Nah, you're gonna go right down this path, because a lot of the things are the weeds is taken out of the path, because I had to go through and chop a bunch of them down in order to clear the path for you.
Has there ever been moments where Cayenne is like not trying to follow your advice, not trying to listen to you?
Nah, he never was not trying to follow advice. It was just more like,
I want to do it this way.
I want to try to do it my way, right? And it's cool. Like, all right, cool. Like, go ahead.
In which instance, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just saying, Dad, I want to play in this tournament. Or I want to play with this team. Cool, go ahead. Like, go see it. You have something that I never had, which is somebody who's been through it already at every level of what you're trying to accomplish. Utilize me. Don't shy away from me, because everybody else wants you to do your own thing and carve your own path out. Like, nah, that's the whole purpose of this. I worked so hard to create this path. Nah, you're gonna go right down this path, because a lot of the things are the weeds is taken out of the path, because I had to go through and chop a bunch of them down in order to clear the path for you.
Has there ever been moments where Cayenne is like not trying to follow your advice, not trying to listen to you?
Nah, he never was not trying to follow advice. It was just more like,
I want to do it this way.
I want to try to do it my way, right? And it's cool. Like, all right, cool. Like, go ahead.
In which instance, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just saying, Dad, I want to play in this tournament. Or I want to play with this team. Cool, go ahead. Like, go see it. You have something that I never had. I wanted him to experience with different coaches early on, and like, that's the proper development that you got to go through. Now I'm letting you go do that. A lot of questions, a lot of people are able to get to you. Man, you got to do it this way, and you ain't got to be like your dad. So who the they gonna tell you go be like?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. If there's anybody,
do it your way. What is your way? What is your way?
Yeah.
If you show me your way, cool. But what is your way? So I sit back and laugh at that. I mean, do it different, man. Don't do it like your dad. Why would you tell him to do it differently and go do it like somebody else, or recommend somebody else for him to do it when I'm sitting here? I'm living proof of everything that you could possibly go through when it comes to just life, when it comes to this game of basketball.
You can hear that again.
I wanted him to experience with different coaches early on, and like, that's the proper development that you got to go through. Now I'm letting you go do that. A lot of questions, a lot of people are able to get to you. Man, you got to do it this way, and you ain't got to be like your dad. So who they gonna tell you go be like?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. If there's anybody,
do it your way. What is your way? What is your way?
Yeah.
If you show me your way, cool. But what is your way? So I sit back and laugh at that. I mean, do it different, man. Don't do it like your dad. Why would you tell him to do it differently and go do it like somebody else, or recommend somebody else for him to do it when I'm sitting here? I'm living proof of everything that you could possibly go through when it comes to just life, when it comes to this game of basketball.
Yep. I mean, kind of breaking it down in terms of the process and the journey. And some really good perspective about yes. And we'll conclude. We got a lot to get to, but we're gonna conclude on this note. Similar, but just again about the journey. We're gonna conclude, and then we'll get ready for it. We got a lot to get to for the next time, but we're gonna again about the process, about the journey. Go ahead.
Word that she just mentioned was selfish. I think we all are selfish in some respect because to be successful, you have to have a tunnel vision about how you perceive yourself. Either you're going to deal with certain things, you're not going to deal with certain things. That day that you don't want to hang out with people, you're going to do things that you can work out on your own. You're selfish in your own right. Every successful person has to be. That's the only way you're going to get the tunnel vision to be successful. Now, how you channel that selfishness in our game, the team sport, you have to give up some of it, but we still have it because we have individual goals that we try to meet. They have to maintain it because they don't have anybody else that they got to rely upon. So selfish plays a big part in all of successful athletes or business because you have to have the focus to make sure you do what you have to do. You don't care about anybody else to that degree so that you can be successful. The word that she just mentioned was selfish. I think we all are selfish in some respect because to be successful, you have to have a tunnel vision about how you perceive yourself. Either you're going to deal with certain things, you're not going to deal with certain things. That day that you don't want to hang out with people, you're going to do things that you can work out on your own. You're selfish in your own right. Every successful person has to be. That's the only way you're going to get the tunnel vision to be successful. Now, how you channel that selfishness in our game, the team sport, you have to give up some of it, but we still have it because we have individual goals that we try to meet. They have to maintain it because they don't have anybody else that they got to rely upon. So selfish plays a big part in all of successful athletes or business because you have to have the focus to make sure you do what you have to do. You don't care about anybody else to that degree so that you can be successful.
Okay. I think that's where we're going to leave it. The greatest talking about, one of the things, first, point that he made is right. Late great Kobe Bryant talk about leadership is lonely. That's what the Mamba said. Leadership is lonely. It's lonely. And Michael just talking about, what it took and takes to be where he was at and he's still there. But one of the things he says, kind of say, you would want to be me for 6 minutes. You don't want to be me for 6 hours. You want to be me for 6 days. You wouldn't want to be me for 6 years or 6 months, right? 6 months or 6 years. You know what I mean? Is that, 6 minutes, 6 hours, 6 days, not 6 months, not 6 years. Because of just the pressure, the intent, you just can't get away from being, the most recognizable face on the planet. Incredible weight that comes with it. We want to be incredibly successful, but we want to maintain our anonymity. Nope. You're not going to be just incredibly successful and still just walk to the end of your driveway, go get the mail, just live that normal, middle class, idyllic life. You have to give some things up. You have to give some things up. You have to be a little bit selfish here and there. Okay, folks, we started off with a little bit of technical difficulties. Righted the ship on this Friday edition. Somehow, some way, over 2 hours with the technical difficulties at the beginning. As I said, Knicks Fan TV is still going strong. I'm going to check in with them when we, we don't play a hey, we congratulate. But the story tonight, Knicks defeat the Boston Celtics, an injured Boston Celtics team, a proud Boston Celtics team. Laid the hands on them, got them up out of there, 40 pieces, essentially 38 points, breaking through to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're getting down to the Final Four. We got a game 7 in the Western. 2 outstanding teams, Denver and Oklahoma City, to determine who gonna match up against Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. And it's weather's getting nicer, and we coming into the spring, particularly in the Northeast. It's a beautiful thing. But it's anybody's ball game. And the New York Knicks are in the mix, folks. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to thank you for tuning in to SandCity Sports. I am your host, the Cape Cod known as Andre.